Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to whine, but yeah, a lot of this book points forward to a much more hopeful days if certain policy decisions are made. And one of the problems, in my estimation, ma'am, since Vietnam onwards, what I had witnessed in my day, I am a post-World War II child. My mother wheeled me in a perambulator up Pennsylvania Avenue on VE Day. I am a post-World War II person. And at the end of the day, so much of the problems that we have been engaged, and I'm not here to argue there was a good policy to be engaged or not, but one thing's for sure, we managed them like a banana republic once we were there. That part's unequivocal in nearly all cases. And one of the reasons is that because Americans are just so notoriously, as we know, less so in this neighborhood for sure, but as we know, ignorant about circumstances and conditions and contexts of countries overseas, that we do not affect public policy about interventions overseas by our military, and why we get approval with whether they're called police actions or approval until the body bags come. And then we hit the streets, and then we're out. And one of the remedies, the antidotes for this, definitely, is a more informed American public. And with the greatest economic, cultural revolution known to mankind that we are right smack in the middle of right now, the new high technological revolution that's taking place, far more sweeping in its impact than what was going on in Liverpool and Manchester and Lowell, etc. during the Industrial Revolution. We have the opportunities as citizens to communicate directly with our likenesses. If you're working for, you name it, a women's rights group in Flatbush, you can connect with a women's rights group in Ghana. You do not need any intermediary. And you can make your own decisions whether to transfer knowledge or to transfer cash. You don't need to send your check to an emissary, most cases a contracted charity, whose designs for intervention are being written to a large extent, sorry to say this, bipartisan. These are political appointees at the top of our federal assistance programs. You can take those relations, and very much the way it was before, well, before the 50s, before the Eisenhower years, when we had all these church-to-church programs and things like that. That model, only school-to-school programs, women's rights groups to women's rights groups. The future of our work overseas is borderless international movements, and it's the new technologies that allow that, and in the process, incrementally, allow Americans to be much more informed the next time someone says, take our precious people, soldiers, and take our textiles, and let's send the avant-garde in to see what they can come up with. So yes, there are better ways ahead. Whether we will get that sort of enlightened policy making, I don't know. But I can tell you this, that some of the biggest, most progressive corporations in this country, and I know they get bad press from time to time, just recently, for example, they are funding these new models. They are funding these new models of connectivity, school-to-school programs, for example. So you don't have the kid and say, here's the Middle East, study for a quiz. You have the kid on the classroom on Skype with a classroom in Ghana going back and forth. So it's a different, so I could go on. Yes, sir.
I don't know whether I should ask you this question now or more private, but you have a pretty traumatic history. You know, what discussed very little in 1969, your experience in Vietnam. So I'd like to know what you were doing between 1969 and 1991 to bring you to this point.
Yeah, okay, well,
if you don't mind. And then, of course, there was the anti-Vietnam War, anti-Vietnam movement come up, and I'm like you, I'm a World War II type of person, born in the late 30s, I was born then. And so I'm America and nothing else, America. And there's a lot of gaps in my education, which I'm filling in now because I'm retired and I'm trying to catch up. I feel very ignorant for what happened before. So if you fill me in with some of your feelings about the Vietnam area and that 20-year period that developed you up to this point.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Vietnam War, and you know, I'm not talking about the soldiers, many whom are not with us anymore, 58,000, or the 250,000 wounded, severe. Our Congress and our citizens here were not, by all accounts that I can find, were not told the truth. And it was only because of the Tet conflagration that slowly we started to get a sense about the unwinnable, that our allies in the South were not dependable, and that the North, and Ho Chi Minh, General Giap, were riding a sense of nationalism to be one country, Vietnam, and that we were not winning that. And that was not kept away. How many people died after Tet? American soldiers, and a lot of that was duplicitous, and that's true. So after that, I did spend a couple of years getting repaired. And then I basically, when I was repaired, I went to Africa for about 2 years. And I started in Cairo and just worked myself south down to Durban, just pickup jobs along the way. Taught English, you know, counted birds in Savo, and these sorts of things, and just worked my way down over that period of time. And then I came back and started a small business in Connecticut. What else? Travel business. And basically did fairly well, but it was not satisfying. And then I met my wife, and she was a progressive. And basically, at that point, we went to Paris. We took all our wedding money and lasted in Paris for 9 months, just having absolutely wonderful time. And then ran out of money. And there was an advertisement in the newspaper. It happened to be for Nicaragua from Catholic Relief Services. I'm not Catholic, but they hire people of all religions. And I said, oh, what the hell? So I went in for the interview, and I was hired, and because I spoke French, there I was sent to Lebanon, which was in the midst of a civil war. And then from there, that fills into 91, because it was Lebanon, the civil war there, my daughter was born there, then North Africa, the Maghreb, my son was born there, down the coast to Senegal, where we lived. And then I got promoted to sort of the deputy CEO for Catholic Relief Services with a focus on Africa. And did that until, yeah, that would have taken me right through to 1991. And then subsequent to that, there was some other stuff besides just waiting around for 2003, but there were other similar assignments.